Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Let's get part 2 in this little series. I thought I'd do at the beginning of this one and just clear out a lot that I'm not going to bother filming. They're ones that are just staying. I don't need to look into them. That includes all of my mounted Dendrobium species. Most of those that haven't bloomed are going to get a rest, so I can't make a decision on those yet. All my Tulumnias get to stay. That just goes without saying, doesn't it? And in addition to that, my 2 Psychopsis are staying. I'll have a look through the Masdevallias and Paphiopedilums, because some of those are a bit iffy, shall we say. I'll do those in a later one. We'll have a look at the Miltonias, the species. But apart from that, let's get this one underway and we'll see how we go. Now, you know I love my Dendrobiums, and I've got a lot of them. That's literally, if you like something, well, get some, you know. But this is an unusual one, because this one grows different. This is the victoria-reginae. Oh, I can never say that properly, my mouth won't work. But this was just a few keikis stuck in a pot. That's how I bought it. I never expected much from it. But it grew that cane and that cane during the last growing season. Now, I have high hopes for those 2 canes. That are, on this type of plant, they are good sized canes. Because it's not a huge plant. I mean, I've seen some relatively big ones, but most of the time they stay medium size. So I'm pleased with those 2 new canes. The flowers on this, I don't know how they last, because I haven't had any yet. And obviously, if it was keikis, it was a very young plant. And you know what keikis are like? Some of them can take an age to really get established and start pushing new growths. But it's done the new growth thing. The old keikis literally are the 5 virtually leafless canes. And they haven't all pushed up new growths. But that doesn't mean to say they won't. But 2 of them have. So that's good. So this one stays purely on the flowers. There is no other colour that matches the blooms on this. And they're difficult to film as well. They seem to do something with the light on the film, and they don't show the true colour. Anyway, so that little one stays, not because it's a good plant, but because it will be. And they're difficult to get hold of. They don't come up very often. And, you know, this one's coming on. So this one I'm prepared to wait for. These 2 latest canes should bloom. Now, I don't know when. I haven't had the plant long enough. I haven't had it the over the year point where you get to know the pattern of it. I don't know how or when those canes are going to bloom. They might not bloom until the leaves fall. The leaves might not fall till the end of the next growing season. I don't know. But I'm quite happy to wait and see. Okay? He's on the stay list. Just while I'm up in this corner, I don't get up in here much because this is where my noblies are spending the winter. Now, a lot of them are budding. They're not all noblies, this one isn't. But most of that jungle up there are nobly types, nobly hybrids. And they're resting at the moment. You know, those pots, which are very large, I know they're supposed to go in small pots, but these are big plants and they're vigorous. They will fill those pots next year. So in preparation for that, they've had slightly larger pots. But in amongst here, lurking in that jungle, are lots of little pots of keikis that are coming on. Now, virtually all of those are on the list to go. I'm not growing another giant nobly hybrid from either bits that have been taken off or keikis. I have no space for that sort of thing. So those are automatically on the list to go. Keikis that are coming on. I mean, this thing up here that I showed you yesterday, I think it was, this pushes out keikis a lot. And I just keep, well, there's one down here. I've just broken it off. And when I find the pot that I last put these keikis in, I'll make a little hole in it and poke that one in as well. And it'll grow. And that's a pot full of keikis. But I don't want them. You know, they're there to go. They're there for others to have that type of plant. Okay, so that's just while I was up in this jungle, which it is a bit. But I don't have to get in there all the time. I just need to get at the keikis, because they obviously need to stay watered. They don't rest. But yeah, so yeah, a jungle. Most of the larger plants there are actually going to stay. There's no reason for those to go. They bloom well, minimum upkeep, quite honestly. They don't take a lot of looking after. They just need feeding and watering well in the growing season, and then ease off in the autumn, and quite dry through the winter for me anyway, because I've got high humidity to keep the canes hydrated and everything. So they have a sort of rest, I suppose. This is a strange one. While I'm just here, it's not the best of plants, but it is a semi-deciduous Dendrobium, so it is losing leaves on the older canes. But it has pushed up some good new canes. This one, this one, this one, and this one, I think. Well, I think that one was halfway up through the winter. But it's quite a good strong plant, and the flowers on it are stunning. They look like cattleyas. But it's one I haven't seen anywhere else. So it's a hybrid. It's called Formidible. It's a cross between Infundibulum and Formosum. And it's technically it's a black hair type. You can see the tiny little black hairs on the canes. So that's the only one I've got like that. So that gets to stay purely because I love the blooms when they eventually do it. They're huge. They're about 4 or 5 inches across, and the purest white with deep gold, but very cattleya-like in appearance, which is unusual for a Dendrobium. So that one gets to stay on its rarity value, beautiful blooms, and quite honestly, ease of care. It's just a typical Dendrobium. Feed and water well, rest a bit in the winter. They're not difficult really. So that one gets to stay. Now here's a classic example of one to go. When I repotted the mother plant up in the jungle somewhere, actually I think it's the one with all the buds showing. Yeah, I think it's that one. So it's got some good buds coming. But this is the one the slug got at. That's not the reason it's going to go. The reason it's going to go is it is a smaller version of a large mother plant. I don't need two. Oh, ouch. Oh, I hit my head on that basket once more. But it has got another bud coming on that cane. But the piece just broke off when I repotted it. Although the slug got at it, I think that bloom's going to make it. It's just about to open. But that's a classic example of one to go. I don't need two of the same. I just don't. They take up space. And as you can see, when they get big, they get big. I haven't got room for two like that. I could have a different one instead. That's the theory. So that one is to go. I might wait to sell it on until it pushes out a couple of new growths, because it will look better for somebody in that state. And what I may do, which I know some of you will think is naughty, I may take this cane off, because that's part of the reason it came off the mother plant. That bit stuck out the side. My fault for not training it. But I could take that cane off near the base once it pushes up a couple of new growths, in the spring, which is what it will do. And then it'll look like a good plant to sell. It'll have two nice, reasonable canes and some new growths coming and some reasonable new roots in the pot. That'll be okay. So anyway, one to go. Now this is a questionable one, because there's no way I'm keeping a plant that looks like that for any length of time. This is the one that pushed out the 3 huge keikis that I am desperately trying to get to push some roots out so that I can take them off and plant them properly, upright in a pot. And they're not doing the roots thing yet. But one of the older canes is doing some buds. That will be good, because at a future date, providing the slug doesn't get at them or they don't blast or anything like that, as I say, this is lovely Virgin Angel. And the reason this has to stay in some shape or form will be revealed if and when those buds open. Yeah? I'll show you why I don't want to let this one go and why I'm so desperate to get these keikis to push out roots. If they don't push out roots, I may just take them off and leave them to callus dry and then see if they'll root. That is another way of dealing with stubborn keikis, is to just take them off the plant and just keep the base of them totally dry and let the canes start to shrivel a bit, and sometimes it triggers roots. That's another way. I've never had to try that before, but the main plant has 4 canes. Yeah, they're all totally leafless, although one is budding. Now, in theory, come the longer days, it could push out new growth from the base. That makes the main plant viable again, because I can then get some nice upright canes. But as it stands, that takes up that amount of space. Yeah? So, in its current state, I don't like it. But anyway, let's wait and see if it blooms, and I can at least show you the blooms and why I want to keep it. I suppose, strictly speaking, it's a nobly type hybrid, and the blooms are along those lines, but it hasn't got a nobly type growth pattern, that's for sure, because I've never seen anybody else's nobly do silly things like that. So that's probably got something else in it, something lurking in its genes that sort of messed up its psyche. It doesn't know whether it's coming or going, poor thing. But I need to have one of these because I love the blooms. This isn't necessarily the actual plant I will keep, but in some shape or form. I have actually got another keiki of this somewhere, a single growth that has actually got roots. So I do have an alternative. And again, I want one good specimen sized plant of this particular hybrid. We'll see how we go. This one gets to stay. Not because it's got wonderful long-lasting blooms, it's just got wonderful blooms. They don't last that long, about 12 days. But they are a cascade chain type bloom. This one had a little nickname a while ago. It was called the WTF orchid because it just suddenly surprised me and chucked out these huge pendulous multi-floral blooms that I just was not expecting. Now, the older canes have got some nubbins on, so they are potentially capable of blooming. You know, if you look, that's a good one there. Yeah. So that is potential for a bloom come the season. There's another one there. Those are older canes. But just goes to show, when you're not looking, I'm sure that was not there last time. This came down for a little spray of water. It doesn't get much this time of year, but just gets the surface sprayed over. But yeah, so that's pushed up. Well, that wasn't there last time. This only grew one new cane last year. So, you know, these canes are like 2 years old at least, probably more. And they do eventually go leafless. You can see one up the back there, but that's over about a 3-year period. So they hold their leaves well. Nice dark green leathery leaves. I like the plant. It's unusual shape. Tiny little thin base to the pseudobulbs, canes. And then they swell up. And they've got this square shape. Yeah, that's one of the traits of one of the parents. The canes are square, literally. Sort of more diamond shape, I suppose, but they have straight sides to them. You know, they're not normal. So I like it because it's an unusual plant. I like the massive blooms when it decides to do it, even though they don't last that long. So this one gets to stay. It's not a rare cross, and the parents are not that rare either. So, you know, there's nothing rare about it. It's not staying for that reason. But it's, again, the only Dendrobium I've got like that has that type of flowers. And, you know, it's variety. So that one gets to stay. It needs to push out more than one new growth this year. Come on. But then it's doing one in the winter. Come the spring, it could do another 2 or 3. We'll wait and see. And I believe that bloomed in the summer last time. That was its first time last time for me. Anyway, we'll see how that one goes, but nice plant, I like it. There's a nice pot full of keikis to go, some good roots pushed out, and the first new growth. Can you tell what it is yet? Even at this young stage, the canes are getting quite large. Yeah, so that's the sort of thing, I mean, you know, that is keikis off of that, just chucked in a pot with a stake, hold them upright, and they grow, and they can be for somebody else to enjoy, not for me. I've got that thing. I don't need another one of those. It's going to bloom soon. There are half a lot of spikes on that. Yay! And fragrant. And who knows, by then the fragrance over here might be dwindling, so they may just manage to cut through, because it's not a strong fragrance, but Anyway, an unnamed Kingianum type hybrid that grows into a monster from that as a start point. Okay, so that's definitely to go. That's why I put the keikis in a pot, for somebody else to have a go at it. Now this little pot full of keikis that's deciding to put up some new growths is deceptive. The mother plant of this I did get rid of. This is actually a nobile species crossed with moniliform, and it was named by the person who gave it to me as Cassiope. Let me get the tag out. Now, whether that's a correct name or not, I don't know. I'm reasonably trusting from who I got it from about the cross, but not necessarily the name, because the guy did say that name's a question mark. So not necessarily called that, but its two parents are probably strictly right. Now, the nobile species is finicky. Moniliform, probably not so much as a species. But that's quite a tidy little plant, you know, some leafless canes. As I say, these were keikis. That's either going to be another keiki or possibly a bud. Yeah, who knows? We'll have to wait and see. The mother plant was bigger than that. It was huge. And the blooms last 10 days if you're lucky. They are lovely, but they don't last and they have no fragrance. So a plant that big, it bloomed twice. It had a reasonable spring blooming and then it had another little go later in the summer, you know, just a few. So it didn't justify the space. So the mother plant got sold on. I got an incredibly good price because that was an extremely large mature plant. So I did well out of it. And the keikis are coming on. But that's a deceptive pot full. That's going to grow eventually 2 to 3 feet tall and turn into a bush. You know, so it's the sort of thing that it's going to take up space. In a couple of years, it'll be huge. But at the moment, the keikis are just pushing out some new growths. We'll see how it does. The fact that it's got a red tag in it, my daughter was looking after that for a while, and she hasn't got the light to be able to do Dendrobiums justice. So effectively, it was slowly but surely stalling. Now, that's not her fault. That's the only place she could keep it. Otherwise, the cats would eat it. So it was too far from the window. So, but since it came back down here, it seems to be picking up. So it was the light. But actually, there's quite a few buds on that cane. Buds or keikis. We'll wait and see. Now, I would imagine if those are buds and it blooms on those size canes, the blooms will probably be dwarfed. They won't be up to their full size, because if they are, they're going to pull the pot over, because they are big blooms. But don't last. No fragrance. Too big a plant. So that's on the list to go, simply because it's too big a plant for me to accommodate in amongst the other things that I like a lot more. So one to go there. And then there are plants that we keep for sentimental reasons. This was a gift. It was a present. This was from Rachel. Now this was a rootless keiki off of, again that's a nobile hybrid, but it's one of the well-known ones. At least it's got a proper name, and lovely flowers. So this gets to stay, but that in effect was a virtually rootless keiki. Now it's given up its top growth, and that's simply because it spent quite a long time as a rootless keiki. There's only so much. But if you look down the bottom of the pot, there's a white root showing. And at the base of the plant I can see several others pushing off into the wilderness of the moss and bark. So it's going to make it, and come the right time of year and the right day length and everything, that should push up some new growths from the base. And then by the end of the next growing season, that'll be heading up to a reasonable plant. But like I've said before, some keikis can be incredibly slow to get up off their arse and grow. You know, they're effectively a stalled plant by their nature, and yet some of them take off like rockets. But anyway, that's not one that took off like a rocket, but it is getting there, and that has to stay. Wonderful blooms out of the nobile hybrids. That is one of the better ones. Yeah, so I will be patient with that one. We'll see how it goes, but I need new growths in the spring. You listening? I'm talking to you. And here's another pot full of keikis to go. This is keikis off Berryoda. You remember that was my 1,000 subscribers giveaway plants, the big one that I split into 3. That pushes out some spikes, some keikis. Now these keikis have got spikes on. And that one looks like it might have another keiki on top of the keiki. But yeah, just break them off, stick them in a pot. They grow. So that's another new plant for somebody, another berryoda. And with the 2 that I've got, like, oh, by the way, I got a private message. My plant has arrived in Italy. And apparently the unboxing has been filmed. I haven't seen the vid pop up yet, but I will certainly put a link and reference it. So it arrived. It spent 2 weeks in the dark and apparently has shown no ill effects. These are hardy things, these Aussie orchids. They really are. I suppose it goes with the territory, really. No pun intended. Anyway, another pot full of keikis to go. Another berryoda for somebody else to bring on. Again, that should start pushing up new growths come the longer day lengths after it's had a little bloom. See, if I was really doing it properly, I should take those spikes off really and put the strength into the base of the plant. But they've grown some good roots. Nah, let it flower. Let it have its day. And let me swing round now. The nobelies have just been spread out a bit. And you can see, that's 4 plants. That's half a shelf with 4 plants. But these 4 are probably okay. This one is, I think that's the prima donna. That's the one that bloomed for 6 months last year. So blow this spring blooming nonsense. This bloomed for 6 months. No gaps. As fast as blooms fell off, others were forming. And you can see the buds going up the, that's one of the stronger new canes from last year. You can see the buds over most of the cane. And what this seems to do is it pushes out its spring buds near the top of the cane, and then later in the year it starts moving back down and fills in the gaps. It just keeps going. It's got a lot of leafless canes on one side of the plant. I'm going to be naughty, they're coming off. They make plant look untidy. But yeah, it's still doing a bit of autumn there, but it's pushing buds all over the place. That's going to be a monster soon. This one here, what's the colour on this one? Shall I put that in the bloopers or just leave it in? I'll leave it in because it's only a little bit of bark come out, won't damage the plants. But see what I mean about the space these blinking things take up. This one's got some buds coming, this one's okay, and this is the one that the strange looking plant with the cane that sticks out the side came off of when I trimmed it. Some of the buds are quite well advanced on that one. Yay, we're going to have nobly blooms soon. So anyway, that's got a lot of buds on it. This one over here is not my best looking nobly plant by far, but this was the previous year's cane, so it was very big and it flowered right down the length. And you see what I mean? They flower down the length of the cane one year, and then later on that year or sometime in the future they decide to fill in the gaps near the bottom. So that's a new cane over there. That's got a bud on. It's also got a mealybug. I thought I'd dispensed with you lot. Oh well, it is due another spray. Give them their day. This one's good because this puts out buds in groups of 3s. Now most nobelies are 1s or 2s. You do get 3s. I've even seen 4, but it's rare. Yeah. So some good buds coming on this one. So all the nobelies, this is the only unknown quantity, this one. This is wedding bells. Now somewhere back there is a video when I unboxed this, and at that time it had blooms on. But like a dummy, I forgot to take a still shot. So I can't do a pop-up showing what it looks like. But this is a new nobly for me, so I haven't got it to flower yet. But I did grow on some new canes last year, and not a sign of a bud on those canes. So this one's going to have to go up in the bedroom and get more of a rest than it can get here. But just while I'm at it, where is it? This is the sort of watering they get. That's it. Yeah, that's it. That's what a resting nobly gets from me. Just a quick spray around the top. Mainly the aerial roots. Just a tiny little drink. That's it. That's all it gets. That's why I got the sprayer, because if I try pouring water in there and only putting a little bit in, I'll end up drowning them. Right, let's go and rescue that thing, and that means I've got bark all over the floor again. But the plant won't have come to any harm. They fall over. They're like cattleyas when they get this blinking big. And that's in a big pot too, and it still went over. So that's that top shelf done, and that shelf done, about what's staying, what's going, and a quick chat about those sort of things. That'll do for this one, otherwise it will just get silly long. And, you know, as I'm going around watering, I'll film other things as I go, but they don't necessarily have to go in this video. I can do this in stages, just build up the parts and then put them together at my leisure. So, yeah, so that's... the Noblies, they need to go back up in that nice bright light and see what happens. And I'll keep you posted as and when these buds develop. They are coming on though, just that one lurking and not budding. But it's a new one. This is its first winter, so we'll see how it goes.